Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time of the day it is that you're listening to this. Thank you for tuning in to episode 15 of What Am I Doing? Episode 15 is with my main man, Gavin Hews. Gavin is a stand-up comedian, producer, podcaster, and all-round funny guy. Me and Gavin started comedy around the same time, roughly about 2 years ago. He started out in Wellington, and yeah, we've kind of come up together through the scene and have done a lot of shows together. We produce a show together, the Line 'em Up comedy show out in Newtown once a month. And this month is the 30th of October, so please, tell your friends about that. It's always a really good show, a little bit wild, but it's a lot of fun. Myself, Gav, and Tim Stanner did the Palmy Mini Festival. It was the first time we did like a big show together, and it was a lot of fun. And we're bringing that show to Whangerai at the end of this month. We're doing a 3-night run, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all at really different times. So like Thursday is like an early show at like 6:30. Friday is like a late show at 9:30, and then Saturday we've got like a really good spot between 8 and 9. So it's going to be a lot of you're gonna get, I think, the whole scope of like a festival doing those 3 time slots. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the late show to see how wild we can get. I've been in Whangerai once before, and I'm pretty sure I can get pretty wild. So that's going to be. Hopefully, we're going to come away from stories with that, regardless of what happens on stage. Gavin is a podcaster as well. He has his own podcast called Gavin Learns, where he takes a slightly different. We talk about at the start of the podcast about like the different avenues and genres of podcasts you can do. He isn't so much comedy focused. Obviously, he's got comics on it as well, but he's got like psychologists on it. He's had people talk about finance, much more of a like intelligence gathering pursuit than what I'm doing, which is just trying to hang out with my friends. But he had a really cool episode where he actually went on a date on the podcast, and he had like people playing violin, and his people acting as waiters and waitresses, and they had like a meal and had a chat on the podcast, which is that's a rough move. That's a bold move for a first date. But you should go and check that out. He's on his YouTube channel. I have all links into the description for all his stuff, so you should go and follow him. Yeah, we're creeping up there in numbers. Episode 15. It's happened quicker than I thought it would. And thank you for everyone who's listening so far, for liking and subscribing. And yeah, if you can, wherever you listen to the podcast, please kind of rate it as high as you want. Please 5 stars, no 0 stars. Only I want more people to find the podcast. And yeah, I want to kind of try and get more people listening. That would be fantastic. Yeah, cool. So look, enjoy this episode. It was a lot of fun working with Gav. As I said, he's one of my best friends. So we kind of ramble all over the place on this one. So strap in. Good luck. Yeah, don't worry. No one's gonna call me, so we're okay.
I'm all shy now.
You're all shy. See, this is the thing, right? Do you ever feel okay? So I'm here with Gavin. Well, I'll do the intro, and you can listen to that. But
hello, guys.
Do you ever feel, when you start the podcast, that when you have to pick up the mics, it kind of creates a little bit of a barrier?
I've been trying to figure out how. So I also do a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is all a plug for my show.
Yeah, this is it.
No, I do, and it's weird because like you get the mic, and I might want to have headphones as well, and the boom arms, and they just get in the fucking way of everything. It is different, and I think after the first like 2 minutes of just genuine bit of back and forth goofing around, it kind of just disarms people.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely trying to get better at it. Because in like a real conversation, there's none of this mic in my face, this is on my head, all that jazz. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of it is weird, but I reckon that's just the art form, and trying to get better and better and better.
Do you think podcasting is an art form?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like just being a conversation depends on how you define art form, though, right? Like, how do you define art form?
Well, I had this kind of. I'm coming in real hot there.
Maybe just passion. Maybe it's just better as a skill to develop.
It's okay. So I had this conversation where I think a good podcast can be described as like an artistic pursuit. Like it is a form of art. Now it's not the same as a painting or like a stand-up set or a piece of music, but there's a discipline involved in actually creating a decent conversation where you can allow like the conversation to flow quite well, and you get yeah. I don't. It's not.
So many aspects to it, right? Because it depends what you're trying to get out of the conversation as well. And like you can have conversations for so many different reasons. You can get them for like, getting information, convincing somebody of something, trying to get someone to like you. Depends what your intention is. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so much to do with nonverbal communication as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why like there was like, I read this book. They were saying like 60% of communications like actually nonverbal, so like your body language, I guess this is verbal when you're tone of your voice and like the speed of your speech and stuff like that. But just I'm quite mindful of that. Do you ever do that where you like try and talk to somebody and you want to come across as disarming and you try and do that so much so that you actually end up becoming awkward again?
I think if you focus on any one aspect of a conversation too much, like if you focus on what am I projecting with my body language? What am I with my eye contact? With how I'm speaking. I think if you focus on maybe the intricacies of having a conversation, you don't focus on just the person in front of you. Because people can tell when you're not necessarily present, and if you're trying to, like, if you're trying to be too relaxed with your why is body behavior coming in my head? Your nonverbal
your figure, you mean, or
no, but your
physique.
No, this is all very technical terms. Like your
we getting deep on
body language.
Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Fuck man, you retard.
Yeah, I
Damn.
know.
Oh, I'm canceled. Oh no,
it's fine.
All right. Don't edit it out. I want them to know.
That I'm retarded. That's fine. You don't really need a podcast to figure that out. But I think if you focus too much on your so if you focus too much on your body language, and you're trying to be relaxed, you can sometimes be too relaxed and play off, and that will affect the conversation negatively.
Yeah,
like there's a thing you do in sales where to get the person to like you, you will match their body language and
mirroring, right?
So you mirror them exactly.
Yeah,
and if you're not good at it, if you're not subtle at it, people know exactly what you're doing. Because I can spot it in salespeople when they're doing it to me. I'm like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
but then you know the conversation you're in is not genuine. And
it's so true, dude. There's nothing more cringy to me than when you meet somebody who's like fake nice, And the worst is those people when you're walking up the street and they're like trying to sell you shit. Like, hey, do you want to donate to this charity? First of all, I know you don't work for that charity. That's bullshit. Second of all, you don't like me. You're just lying. You're lying to me. You're lying to me. You're lying.
So I did that charity thing, right?
Yeah, you fucking scum.
Well, no, see, this is how I did it. So I worked in sales, and I didn't want to do that anymore because it's 100% commission, and it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm good at this, at talking and at selling, and then I looked at the charity things, and I was a fixed wage for the first 2 weeks. Okay, and then you had to hit targets and sign people up and all this shit, right? So go and interview, nail the interview, fucking piece of piss. And I'd work for 2 weeks and get the wage, and I just quit and moved to the next company.
What's the wage? Is it like a good wage?
It was all right. It was like £300 a week. So it was about
that decent?
$600 maybe.
Yeah.
And I didn't sign people up.
No, you just
I'd stop people, have a chat, ask them where they worked and where they hiring, and then filled in their form. I filled in a fake form and handed them in.
With like a fake number.
Oh yeah, I made everything up.
Nice.
I made everything up. I once quit a job because the new Batman game came out and it was raining, and I was like, do you know, fuck this. And I just left. They're like, no, I'm not doing this. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is shit. And I just left.
Fuck, man. I wish I had the balls to do that. Do you know what it is? Is like, I want people to like me too much. That's ultimately what it comes down to, is like, I want, and so I'm just too, this is something I'm working on, but just docile. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to push somebody, you know? And then what ends up happening is you end up fucking meeting an asshole who just, like, you know, uses you.
Yeah, you don't want to be, like...
You don't want to be a little, I don't even want to say, like, you know, just, you don't want to be a pushover.
You don't want to be a
be
pushover.
soft.
You don't want to be taken advantage of. But you want to try and help people that...
Yeah.
Like, I always try and help people and be nice to people and be kind to people. I genuinely want to see people do well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've noticed sometimes I can dive head into things like that and instantly try and just do everything for people. Like, especially with comedy, when someone's starting, I'm like, oh, you should do this. You go to these nights, do this, and this. And I haven't seen anyone try and take advantage of me yet in terms of like, like trying to take advantage of my kindness, you know. But I do feel that sometimes I go a little bit. I need to pull back a little bit because you're trying to be nice to people, but you don't want to give up too much of your time in yourself because you end up burning yourself out.
Oh yeah, fucking.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's so much easier to be nice to other people than it is to yourself. How weird is that, right? Biggest contradiction ever. Yeah, I don't know. It is weird. I want to have a go at telling funny stories from my life. I'm not very good at it.
Like now?
Yeah, dude. This is a podcast. Hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Gavin. This is my story.
This is my story. I don't know. You know, it's weird. We'll bring it up in conversation as time goes on. But I'm just trying to.
Oh, you're manufacturing a conversation. He's one of them. He's a sales guy.
I'm going to
direct
direct
no
everything.
Than them scumbags on the street, Gavin.
I think I'd be good at being the on the street salesman.
You would. You've got the fucking hair for it.
Yeah, that's another thing too, man. Like the long hair, it's kind of like, why is it they all have the unique look where it's like I'm kind of a hippie, but I'm like a sleazy fucking hippie.
Yeah, I'm like I want to make a difference, but mainly I want to pay rent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I want to make a difference to my wallet. That's about it.
They're hippies who understand how the world works.
Yeah.
You're like, I need to pay rent, but I want to try and help.
It's like they're or they sell out hippies.
Sell out hippies.
Sell out hippies, you know?
Yeah.
They're hippies to get laid.
Yeah.
But
they're capitalist hippies.
Capitalist hippies. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm super spiritual and oh my God, I can't wait to get laid, and that's about it.
This brought me, so the charity things, right? The charity people, they're called chuggers. Chuggers in England because of charity muggers, right?
Charity muggers.
It's fucking You can't beat a bit of London slang. And the worst time I ever had with one of these people, I was really hungover, and I was going to the dairy, to the shop to get anything to fix my hangover, and this girl stopped me, and she had a picture of the size of a rock, like of a big rock. She's like, these are used to kill kids in some African country. And I was like, I am going to get sick on you right now.
That's insane.
I'm like, this is the worst sales pitch I've ever had.
She had a rock in her hand.
She had a picture of a rock.
Of a rock.
And it was like a life-size picture of a rock. And she was like, these are used to like kill kids. And she's like, do you want to help? I'm like, I need
to kill kids?
I didn't listen. I know it was horrific.
What a dumb way to kill a kid as well, right? That is a crazy ineffective way.
It works, I suppose, because they're still doing it.
You must be really desperate to kill anybody if you're using like.
Or maybe
rock.
It was kids. I don't know. I remember it being bad enough for me to just go, I can't handle this, and just walked away. I was like, I can't do this.
Those are the people like they definitely target people who are too nice.
Well, they target. But see, the whole thing about this, the any of the salespeople and all this.
Yeah.
It's broken down to a numerical system, right? And your target is an impulsive person. So you have
just hang outside of a comedy club. Just fucking get everybody in there.
No, they would talk to you for hours and never sign up, and it'd be a waste of your time.
Yeah,
they've broken down like it's like a mathematical equation, right? So if you stay the same in terms of your output, and your smile, your cadence, your pitch. If you stay the same and you pitch to 300 people, you'll sign in a sales environment. You'll sign 3 to 4 people a day. If you stay, so if you're a robot,
Yeah, if you stay consistent.
if you stay consistent, you will sign 4 because you'll find those 3, 4 impulsive people throughout the day. Now they've worked that out because they know the flow of foot traffic through each street they're on, because they've been doing this for years and years and years. So they've worked out the numbers. That's why if you get like door-to-door salesmen, they go to the same estates year after year.
Yeah, but that blows my
year.
mind because surely those people run out, right?
No,
That's what like. Surely there's
loads
a
of
finite
people do cocaine,
amount
man.
of people. Yeah, but like you don't get the same rush from donating to some random charity as you do from cocaine.
It's not.
I know.
It's I know. I've tried.
Yeah, I've tried donating to charity while on cocaine.
Yeah,
I've tried donating my cocaine to charity.
Yeah. Oh, which one is that? I need to start
All
working
of
now.
them.
But no, it's not so much that you get a rush from it; is that you prey on the people who you can sign up who are impulsive.
Yeah,
And that's the idea of it. So it's not so much that this person like feels good after it. Some people will feel that they can't say no, and that's where your sales pitch comes in, because you're always closing the whole way through your sales pitch. So you actually manipulate people, like you nod your head the whole way through the sales pitch because you get them used to saying yes. You ask them very, very simple leading questions like, "Where do you live around here?" They go, "Yes." Or do you like shopping here? Blah blah blah. Very, very simple leading questions that you just throughout the whole pitch get them to say yes, yes, yes. So when it comes to the final, like, do you want to sign up now? It'll take 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You've already kind of got them into the
You've
pattern of
prepped them into
yes.
saying yes. Well, that's the whole thing with like the phone scripts as well, right? When you're at a call center, it's like stick to the script.
Yes.
Stick to the script, it'll work. And it's like, well, it's such a dumb script. It's like, yeah, statistically speaking, it'll pay off.
Yeah.
How weird.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
man.
I always when you talk about like the yes, it's the same almost like you bring it back to comedy. It's the same as when an MC starts the night. They do the crowd work to break down the barrier, and then they go into the material to get everyone used to hearing the rhythm and the material. You get that I talk, you laugh. I talk, you laugh.
Yeah. I wonder how much similarity there is between like a salesperson and a psychologist. You know what I mean? Because a salesperson is essentially just trying to make a person feel comfortable, right? And direct them with a certain train of thought. I wonder if a psychologist, I feel like a psychologist's role initially in the starting phases is to be as disarming and making someone feel as comfortable as possible.
So you could probably there's probably some tactics that you use to disarm people.
Yeah.
But at the end, the salesperson, even how genuine, no matter how genuine you are as a salesperson, your goal is to get the sale.
Is it immoral to be a salesperson?
I've definitely been in some companies where they're like, just get the sale, no matter what.
Sure.
100%. And I've seen people who are like just signing people up who were not quite sure what was going on. So like older people who may have some fucking learning difficulties, and so like most people will be like, you don't get it, it's fine, and move on.
Yeah,
do you know what?
Right.
But I've seen some says this is like the real, like the top earners don't give a fuck. Now it depends on each industry. I worked in real estate as well, and where I worked was really fucking like more like they were like, no, look, you do your best for your client, and you do your best job, and that's how you get repeat business. It's the long game. You're playing the long game because you had so many people just trying to get the quick fast cash, and that is definitely part of the sales. Like, you know, is it immoral if you go to a supermarket and they keep changing where all the products are because they know the longer you stay there, the more money you're gonna spend?
Right.
Like,
it's true, man. Like, to what degree of manipulation is immoral, and what degree is socially acceptable?
Well, it's
socially acceptable. Well, here's the thing. It's like,
is it immoral or is it socially acceptable?
Exactly, and can it be socially acceptable and immoral at the same time? It's like, well, technically, all marketing is immoral, right? If you're trying to manipulate somebody to do something, it is therefore.
I went.
But we all do that. We do that unconsciously as well. You know what I mean? Like, every person with anxiety is social anxiety more often than not is trying to convince somebody or someone to like them, right?
Well, I don't think just people with social
Yeah, that's
it's,
a terrible
it's
example.
anyone, but I kind of know. I know what you mean. They're trying to put on a face or a mask to try to get over their fears.
Yeah, totally.
And I think we've kind of went back and forth on a couple of different things like this. The I think it's what is your end goal.
Intent.
Is your intent. If you just go, hey, look, I just want to hang out with people and
Mhm.
find some friends that I can like be myself around.
Mhm.
And you at the start you need to maybe ramp up your personality.
Totally.
You know, like I think that's everyone does that all the time. I think if you're doing it to get ahead, and you're completely different people, which you're a completely different person.
If you're lying,
If
there's
you're,
like
yeah, if you're
that's
lying.
the thing. It's like it's
it's as simple as if you're just out there lying.
yeah. If you're lying to people about stuff, but you can also like you can lie about your personality intuitively. You know what I mean? Like just being more outgoing than what you normally are. Is that kind of like a lie? I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't think so. Because being more outgoing than you normally are, you could be trying to change something about your personality. Like
Mhm.
you'd be like, I want to go out more. I want to meet new people. I want to do new
Right.
things. I don't think that's not necessarily lying. You're just trying to put yourself out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Like you can be true to yourself all you want. Some people are so true to themselves they never leave that. You can never leave the house. Then do you know what I mean? And then how much of that becomes
That's a good point, right? Like
how
you
much
actively-
how much of it becomes destructive?
Yeah, is yeah, if you're actively trying to better yourself, that is like a form of like, trying to change who you are.
Yeah,
Which
and
is nothing wrong with
we,
that.
we all like the humans always evolve. We change, we adapt to everything, and I think you try and remain the same the whole way through your life. You have to make adaptations. You have to make changes because you see the world differently.
Mhm. Mhm.
The whole time you grow up, so you're never good. Like I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. I'm definitely not the same person I was a year ago.
I had a very interesting conversation with these two Hare Krishna people recently.
Back to the podcast.
Yeah, that I interviewed on
Gavin
my
Learns.
podcast. Gavin
Gavin
Learns. You can
Learns.
find me on Anchor, Spotify, pretty much every podcast directory, YouTube as well. Smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I talked to these two people on the on my Hare Krishna podcast, and they were talking about because you know how every cell within the human body gets replaced roughly,
Maybe 7 years, isn't it?
I think through every 7 years your body is entirely recreated, physically speaking. And they were talking about like, what is the core essence of what a human being actually is. And they were talking about how it ultimately is a series of there's what it is to be a core human being, and then there's the societal influences and impressions that are put on another person, right? So if I'm basically a series of impressions that society has put on me, but when I strip all that away, I am this core pillar of what an essence of a human being is. And the Hare Krishnas, their belief was to try and strip away and remove all of that clutter, like that the id, you know what I mean? The ego, essentially, removing the ego and just becoming a core fundamental person. Now, me personally, that sounds like if you met that person, they'd be really fucking boring because they'd just be super like, oh, airy fairy, yeah, man, cool. Like, you ever met somebody who's done way too much acid?
Did they explain the haircuts though?
They didn't have shaved hair. That was the crazy thing.
Okay.
They both had long hair. They didn't explain the haircuts. I did ask them why they were trying to sell me books on the street, and they're like, well, because the Hare Krishna belief is that they want to spread the love of Krishna, essentially, right? That's why they chant in the street, because they believe it benefits everybody around them to hear the singing Hare Krishna.
Well, I will say the one time the Hare Krishnas did benefit me when I was living in London.
Yeah.
Everyone would get out of their way when they were chanting, so I used to walk behind them.
Yeah, you ever do that with an ambulance as well?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's the same thing. They were like, everyone would just get out of the way. So I'm like, I'm in the Hare Krishnas now.
Here's a good trick, man. You're in traffic, right? You call an ambulance to your house from the hospital. The ambulance will leave the hospital. You tail the ambulance all the way to your house. Cut out all the traffic.
Don't you have to pay a bill for the ambulance call out?
You call it to your neighbors.
Ah, cool.
You know,
sweet.
maybe not your house.
Yeah, yeah. Your rich neighbor.
yeah, your rich neighbor who can afford it. So, well, we got a call from this fucking. You buy a burner phone.
You buy
You know?
and your neighbor with Alzheimer's, so they don't know if they did it or not.
Yeah. Potentially, it was a medical risk.
Yeah, but you
know?
never know. You were actually looking out for them.
You get your partner to beat your neighbor, so it's an actual medical problem. They drive to There you
Just
go.
commit several crimes.
Several
and you get
crimes.
home
Yeah, but you're saving time.
You're saving like 5
You know?
minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Ain't nobody got time to waste.
No,
you know?
it's you know.
Traffic's a bitch.
Yeah.
Fuck traffic, man. Make better freeways. Seriously, we need better roads in New Zealand. So
You've
bad.
only got fucking 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need more than 2. God, I called up The Edge yesterday on the radio. I usually don't do this. I do it for like a goof, you know. And they were just lamenting how people didn't really know who like Split Ends or Crowded House were. You know, like the younger generation didn't. Like, you know, all these fucking young kids don't know who Split Ends and Crowded House were. And it was just like the classic like old person spiel.
I genuinely
Don't know.
I was like, Split Ends. I'm like, in your hair?
The band Split Ends, Crowded House. You know Crowded House though, right?
No.
Okay, famous New Zealand bands. They were big in like I think the 70s, 80s.
In New Zealand?
In the world. Like these were like big. They went over to the States. That you would know their songs. If I played you a song, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I know what that song is. But they were basically just lamenting over like, you know, oh, these kids these days kind of thing. And so I called up and I crumbled, dude. I get so nervous when I'm put on the spot with these things, but I was like, you know, hey, and I could hear myself on the air. I was like, hey, I'm 34 years old, and I'm the youngest Crowded House fan in New Zealand. Proud of it. Listen, I think that people are raising their kids all wrong nowadays. And they were like, oh, yeah. And he started agreeing with me, and I was like, yeah, if it wasn't for the goddamn liberal media, our kids would be in a much better place. He goes, so you think it's the liberal media's fault that people don't know who Split Ends are? Yeah. Goodbye. And then I hung up. I crumbled. I started laughing as well. I was like, yeah. Goodbye. I was like a kid in a candy shop, dude. I love doing that. Why is that so fun? Doing pranks on people? So dumb.
I think it's fun when it's, you know, it's a national. That's a national radio, and they're trying to get a serious debate at like 3 p.m. on the radio.
Imagine if you're the disc jockey. You'd just be like the DJ. Oh my, you're the DJ. You're the radio person. I gotta deal with these fuckwits. You know?
And the radio is. I love like talk. I've always loved talk radio. Just. In any capacity,
Really? I've hated it, dude. I hated it.
I can't listen to the radio with music anymore because it's like the same repeated tracks over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I'd always just stick on talk radio. I think that's why I jumped on podcasts because I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted, but it's unfiltered.
Sure.
I can't listen to the radio like just with music anymore.
Interesting. Are you a Howard Stern fan?
I never got into Howard Stern.
You know, really? Man, I fucking
no.
love. I mean, couldn't do it now. He's become like a lot more woke, as it were.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, big time. It's weird. He's like, it just goes to show. I feel like he's a great barometer for how society is right now and just how it changes. So in the 90s, he was big in the 90s, big in the 80s. You know, King of Sting, you know, really raw, would just always get in trouble with the FCC because he's swearing on air and stuff like that. And he would just do all sorts of crazy competitions on his show. Just insane, right? Like stuff that was like, you know, get prostitutes, strippers on the show, interview strippers, woo, we're going to have some guy jack off in the corner, all that crazy shit, right? But then as time went on, he was pretty much like Joe Rogan. But in like 2004, I think he got signed to Sirius for $100 million as well.
Right, yeah.
Sirius XM. So he went over to Sirius XM, and he talks about how there was no filters on Sirius XM, and so the fun when he was on radio was being able to like have all these. Not the fun; it was a pain in the ass, but it made it more rogue, you know, a bit more exciting to kind of like. So, the danger.
So it was like to get in trouble was kind of what he was pushing. He was trying to push the buttons and push the boundaries.
He was pushing boundaries and he was pushing buttons. When he went to Sirius, there was no buttons or boundaries to push anymore. You know what I mean? So he went over there. 2005, he was like, I've gotten given all this money. It's a very similar deal. We had to work for Sirius, whereas Joe Rogan's been given like this licensing deal. Anyway, he gets given like $100 million to go on this radio station. And he starts changing. you know, and he starts like filtering out. Artie Lang left, I think, in like 2009. You know Artie Lang?
Yeah.
Left in like 2009, never filled the chair, and he's gradually become more and more progressive, but I would say centrist to what we are now. You know, back then, 2010, our views now would be considered progressive, but they're quite, you know, now they're quite central. And he gets on and he's basically talking about how in the 90s, the average listener age was 36 years old, male, right? And then I'm all good, bro. I'm good. I'm chilling.
I'll give you a bit more.
In the 90s, the average listener was 36 years old. And then in 2015, I think the average listener was 36 years old. You know, and he goes, that is just a clear indication of how the demographics and their interests have changed. And he's still does goofy stuff every now and then, you know, still pretty funny, but it's so much more tame, you know, passive. And he has like intellectual conversations. Interviewed Hillary Clinton. Not a big fan of Hillary Clinton, but interviewed her, had these smart conversations.
But he's older now as well.
65, but he was like 40s and 50s when he was doing his 90s stuff. Like he became big when he was like 39, I think, is when he first started getting, like he wasn't like 24, 22. He was just doing like shitty radio stations up until when he went rogue, went balls to the wall, pure ego, fuck it, rage. Fuck, it was so funny though. You go back in the old tracks, like holy shit, you just wouldn't get away with it now.
Yeah. But you see, also you would get away with it, but you just wouldn't put it on radio anymore. There's a place for that now.
What is the place?
It's like podcasting. Like you look at how radio was servicing people, and you go, Howard Stern was huge, and then everyone goes, oh, you know, there can only be one Howard Stern, you know, in radio, and then it goes, well, what if we want to do more outlandish content and have different conversations and more adult themes, and well, you can just do that online and then have no restrictions. And with having no restrictions, it can be good for the most part, but also can be, but you know, you can get terrible amounts of shit. But you've got to, like, the radio is kind of, I think it's made a comeback a little bit. I think I've always loved listening to the radio, but podcasting has kind of filled a gap where you're getting the unfiltered conversations that don't think it existed very, very infrequently. You know?
Yeah, I do. I totally agree. I agree. I think with radio there was like a limited bandwidth, you know, limited stations.
And limited risks they could take.
There are still limited risks you can take with podcasting. I know you can say whatever the fuck you want, but if you wanted to make it like a full-time hobby, you do have to still have a sense of restraint, you know.
Well, you can't just go, you know, do
blasting the N-word.
No,
and
you
stuff
can't
like that.
just do whatever you like. Well, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to be successful, you actually have to have an idea,
totally,
a slant, and a concept for a show, and make it engaging and make, you know, a good program. You have to actually make good programming. And it's I think podcasting grew so much because people were like didn't know they were hungry for all these conversations. I think that's interesting about like what Joe Rogan did was that, and he had people on, like, you know, the physicists and the doctors, and you're like, why would I ever want to, like, no one would ever thought to think to talk about these people in such a relaxed setting where it's maybe less intimidating to sit down and listen to a physicist talk for 3 hours. You know, yeah, I would have never probably picked that up, and I've listened to some of them, and I've realized I really don't understand physics hard.
It's like a low barriers to entry as well, right? Like, that's not super knowledgeable. He isn't, you know, he kind of approaches it with Joe Rogan, of course.
Yeah, no, this is the thing about like the digital age. It's made all the barriers to entry much lower. Okay, so it's for us to start a podcast, to start a YouTube channel, you need very little technology. Most people can do pretty much anything on your phone anyway. And it's that so we've gotten more, like, I think we've gotten more great art, great conversations, great music, but because the barrier to entry is so low, you've also gotten this wave of absolute shit as well. Because there's no, like, the level of skill and proven ground to actually upload or do anything is pretty much non-existent. So you get the I think that's where, like, the rising stars from YouTube come from. If you're good and your shit hits and takes off, you can have millions and millions of followers, right? So everyone looks at, I want to do that, and everyone starts trying to copy what that, like, say, like, PewDiePie did. There was rafts and rafts and rafts of people attempting to do the same thing. It was like you didn't necessarily get the same level of good entertainment from people. You probably got 25,000 just absolute shit houses.
Do you think that's because they're not doing it the same way, or there's only space for one?
Well, everyone's good at something, at one thing, and people see the barrier to entry is so low and goes, I can try that, but I've never thought about what the work that you need to do to make it successful. Because people will see people on YouTube as, he's just talking to a camera, I can do that. And then, have you ever you do your intros, you talk to the camera. What was it like the first time you did it? Was it weird?
It was weird. I stumbled over so much stuff. I take them in one take now, though. Like, I do it in one take, the intro. But yeah, initially it was just strange. Even just hearing your own voice while you're talking is like fucking weird. Like, what the hell am I doing right now? But it's all just like a gradual state of improvement. But you get better. Like, it's weird because, like, what about you? How many episodes have you done now on this podcast?
So I've we released 14.
Okay.
And this will be number 15, and I did another one on Tuesday. So we got 16 altogether.
Cool. And do you feel like you've an hour each?
Sometimes they go a little bit less. They can go between, like, 45 minutes. I think the one I did by myself was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And the longest I've done is about an hour and 20.
Hour 20 is good. Yeah. I get me personally, I kind of like lose interest after about an hour. I wish I could do those marathon ones. Depends on what I'm talking about. I need to prep more questions as well, I think. I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to, like, figure out what I'm defining my podcast actually as, Like, I want to turn it into, like, I would love to have my own reality TV show. That would be quite fun. I don't know what the idea would be. I don't know.
You should do Keeping Up with the Kardashians as Gavin.
Keeping Up with Gavin.
Yeah. No. You'd call it Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but it's just you trying to be
Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I have no interest in the Kardashians. I initially, like, my idea, I thought this would be quite funny, but just so bad I don't know if I told you this, but so bad for my own mental health would be for me to just call out once a week a new celebrity, and I just shit on that celebrity for like 20 minutes, right? No reason why, and I just wait until one of them responds to me. And then eventually there's got to be one celebrity that'll bite, one that's vain enough to, like, hit me back with 20 subscribers.
That's gonna be a lot. That's
oh yeah.
Like that would I would watch that.
Yeah.
But you don't even need the celebrity to watch that. If people find it funny enough, they just do shitting on everyone.
I just couldn't do that though. You'd have to be in such a negative headspace and just angry all the time.
I don't think so.
To pick apart somebody, like, you fucking...
To pick about a celebrity's career, fuck yeah. I'd do that for breakfast, man.
Would you? I just couldn't do it, man. I just don't want to be, like, speaking that fucking... I get totally funny, and I love listening to people do it. But me personally, I know if I... Because then I know I just get really analytical. I do it with people now. I see someone, I go, this I don't fucking like this about this person. Everybody I fucking do it with, even if it's the nicest person in the world, pick them apart. And I hate it's an insecurity thing.
I do that as well. I just find fun in
it. Yeah.
I don't mean anything by it. Like, I'd be like, I don't. There's no. I do it for fun. I do it with strangers as well. I
do it with somebody we know mutually right now.
Who?
I'm joking.
Who would do it?
You choose, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick who I could do it with. Who wouldn't have. Do it, Tim. No.
No, don't do it, Tim.
No.
Don't say any names until you know.
No, because then everyone will know. No. Okay. No, let's not do
it. No one wins. Like, no one wins. And then you just get, like, labeled this guy who's, like, a fucking asshole. Like, oh, this guy just hates on people. And you do. That's exactly what you do. You just hate on people.
Oh, yeah. Look. you can pick apart the nicest person in the world. It's
Totally.
really easy. But it's
Totally. It's
it's
jealousy is what it comes down to, I think. a lot
well,
of times.
I sometimes think of it like an exercise, a mental exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do you ever pick apart a stranger and try to figure out what their life is like?
But what's the intention behind picking them apart?
It was
Makes you feel better?
Oh no, it's just funny.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, you see someone do something weird on the street, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you just go off.
I love
about-
creating a backstory around
Yeah, I
people.
do. That's what I mean. Like,
Mm.
and then picking it apart, and normally making it a sad backstory because they're the funniest.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, that'd be good. You know, it'd be really cool if AI gets good enough to reconstruct other people's lives for us to see them. It's like it takes, let's say, AI looks at you for like 20 seconds, analyzes your facial expressions, blah, 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 your social media history, and is so smart that it can accurately reconstruct your past. How good would that be for someone with like people who died, who are already dead?
Leave them dead.
It'd be so cool. Hidden mysteries and stuff like that. Lost knowledge. There's so much.
But how are you gonna reconstruct someone's life if the person's already dead?
Because AI, for example, listen, we're talking about some crazy complex algorithm here, but AI would be able to, like, let's say, for example, Abe Lincoln, right?
Okay.
Obviously, it would be a skewed representation because the perspective that we looked at Abe Lincoln is like a historical one, but we take every single primary source from Abe Lincoln, which is like, stuff that he's written, firsthand evidence and stuff like that, and we feed that into the AI. We look at his photos, his back posture, the things we know about him, factor that into AI, and then AI could like reconstruct it in the past. It's possible. It's a theory. It's like crazy complex.
Okay.
Wouldn't work.
No.
Probably
But,
would, potentially.
but you're not gonna get. You're gonna get people's secondhand opinion of that person.
Well, this is where I say use primary sources. Primary sources are important because primary sources only uses the first person's. So, for example, I don't take anybody else's opinion of you. I just take your. So, for example, with AI, the AI wouldn't consult anybody. Actually, it would consult other people around you because it would consult their reactions towards you, which are usually based upon, how you've acted around them. But it would also have to factor in their. It's crazy complex, man. But you'd also have to factor in like their behavior. It's just. You need a big CPU. Let's just say that.
Okay.
You need a lot of RAM.
I don't have enough.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
What do you think of?
We should get into mining Bitcoin. Just saying. We should mine Bitcoin. Dude, we should mine Bitcoin.
Right now. Let's start.
Right now.
What do you think of, when they bring back actors that have died?
Well, the holograms and stuff like that?
No, with the fucking CGI.
Like Tupac? Oh, you mean like, whatchamacallit?
They did it in Star Wars.
Yeah, or Walker, whatever his name
and
is.
they did it in... yeah,
Stan.
it's fucking terrible.
It's weird.
It's just let them die. Let them be dead.
Yeah, Hollywood still fucking owns your ass when you
It's so
die.
weird, man. I watched, the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
Like the Mandalorian or something? Or the
the
movies?
last Skywalker, the newest.
I hated the last one.
Yeah,
It's
I guess,
so tacky.
fucking what's her name?
Princess Leia?
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, I don't actually know the actress.
So like that's Leia, Princess Leia.
Mm.
She died before the end of the third movie, and they just fucking CGI'd her in, and it's so like it's good CGI to a point, but she's trying to replace a person.
Yeah.
And all her, they've obviously cut down her lines of dialogue to very, very short. So it doesn't disrupt the movie too much. Because she'll say, like, okay. Yes.
Why have her in there?
Huh?
Why have her in there?
Just explain, explain to your child that she's dead. Or your child won't remember she was in the last movie. Like, I don't know why we were forced to sit through that. It was fucking just let the person be dead, for fuck's sake.
Surely we can understand that they're not needed in that movie. And any logical person would be like, oh, so why is she on the third one? Oh, she died in real life.
Yeah, she died in real life.
Oh, fuck that. No, we need her in. That's bullshit, man. I can't believe she ruined it by dying. Yeah. What irrational person, only someone who's nuts, just out of this world crazy.
Yeah, we don't,
is going to be like, oh, that's bullshit, bro. Star Wars 3 shouldn't have been made. Star Wars 3 shouldn't have been made anyway.
Star Wars is made for kids now.
Yeah. That's
having
what bummed me out, man.
Well, this is my theory, right? So my theory is that any other trilogy of Star Wars that comes out
Yeah.
is not made for anyone who's seen the original, who remembers the original trilogy. They are made for kids now, so the kids can jump on the Star Wars bandwagon. So all the spin-off movies, like the Solo movie and Rogue One and the Mandalorian, are for the older fans. To like, that's our movies now. We're not getting the trilogy is completely separate. That's only for the next wave of Star Wars fans that keep buying shit, and they keep everyone else happy by doing the one-off spin-off movies. There are Star Wars movies. The people who've seen, like, I didn't see the trilogy originally. I saw them when they were remastered, like in the 90s. My dad brought me to see them all. But I still would say, I'm a fan of the original trilogy. And the second one that came out, they actually told new stories, and it wasn't like a retelling of the original trilogy. With Hayden Christensen and Scottish lad, fucking
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. Like, even though they weren't the best movies, they were still trying to tell a different story. With the new ones, what they've done is they went back to the formula of the old trilogy. It's like, okay, how do we do because Disney own it now, like, how do we just entrap young minds to get back into the original trilogy and make it part of their everyday life?
You know what really blows my mind too about these big freaking corporations and the hypocrisy that they have is, like, Disney will, like, actively promote and rightfully so, like, huge amounts of diversity, casting lead female roles. But then when it and this is what I think, only when it affects their bottom dollar, right? And then when they go to China and they advertise Star Wars, they take the black guy off the poster.
Yeah,
it's like
that's I think that's the thing with when they with some of the movies, the reboots they've done with like the all female cast, and you're like, oh, like, you're doing that to be part of this.
You're not doing it for a real.
You're not doing it for the original.
You're doing it because you're trying to make money. And here's my thing: it's like, I don't know if a company has a place to act as like a moral, either. Yeah, to reflect. I think it should reflect social trends and stuff like that. But I think it should also be consistent in how it reflects those trends. I don't know if it has a place to be a setter of set trends. I don't think that's where it really belongs. However, I think there just needs to be a place with consistency. Act consistent, and then you also have to, like, kind of reevaluate why you think companies are around in the first place. According to a lot of capitalists, and there was like an economist in the 80s. This is where it all started. Capitalism really got fucking wild. Was in the 80s when an economist was like, who said, I can't remember his exact. I think it's like Eric Friedman. Don't quote me on that.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, a company's responsibility is only to its profits and shareholders. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if we go by that, then Disney's probably not doing anything wrong. By that logic. But the issue that pisses me off is the hypocrisy in that, because Disney clearly, like, puts itself and places itself in a position of, fuck, I hope I don't get offered like a movie deal for Disney in 20 years' time.
You need to get funny, like, you need to get really, really funny first. And successful first.
You're right. I'll go to Nickelodeon first.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon. What would you rather go? If you were, like, cast between Disney or Nickelodeon, what would you rather go with?
Dead.
Anyway, I think, I don't know. I think just be consistent. That's all I'm saying. Be consistent.
But it heightens the hypocrisy that's within the company.
Of Hollywood in general.
They don't give a fuck. It's the same thing as, like, Disney. We just, everything's inclusive, it's all diverse, but we love marketing to kids.
Totally. Yeah.
Let me take it's indoctrinate your kids from when they're 6 or 7. There was a documentary done on, like, how they manipulate kids in terms of their advertising. It was like they had a poster with all the princesses of Disney, but on the poster, none of them were looking at each other. So it doesn't break the spell that they all exist in a different universe. So even though they're all Disney characters,
right?
They don't.
What's the documentary called?
Oh, I fucking can't remember.
But it's about how Disney manipulates.
Yeah. It's any that kind of stuff. That's why I found, like, all the everyone going crazy over Disney Plus a little bit weird. Like, Disney's too big, too powerful
Owns Vice now. You know that?
It fucking owns everything.
Yeah, owns Vice. Fox used to own Vice, and then Disney bought it out.
Yeah.
And now Vice has just gone
Like,
crazy liberal.
That's not good.
How crazy is that? One of the original founders, Gavin McGinnis,
who's
like one of the most outspoken alt-right characters now.
Yeah. Who was that? Was I talking about this with you
I don't know.
a couple of days ago?
Potentially. I'm not sure. But
I can't
anyway.
remember because I came up with someone in work. Just how it's weird that he started Vice and now he's like, I don't even know what he's doing now. I know
He's Alex Jones's Infowars.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the refuge for a lot of them because Alex Jones got kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah,
you know? But he has his own media company now.
He's fucking. I've read plenty of books when he's been mentioned in it. He's always been just a raving lunatic, and always. Like this book was about John Ronson wrote the psychopath tests.
Yeah.
Do you know the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats?
They were supposed to be what's it called?
So they did like psycho.
It's not psychopaths, but like psychics. Psychics.
Yeah, they're trying to blow up goats with their mind. Which there's a wing of the American military which is dedicated to doing that. There was one lieutenant who was convinced he could walk through a wall. Like, so he keep doing
George Clooney starred in that movie, right?
Yeah,
Goats. Yeah.
But John Ronson wrote a book called Among Them, I believe, where he followed loads of like the Bilderberg Group and tried to get. Do you know the name of the
Rothschilds?
The group of. See, like the rich people get together to wear masks.
Oh, Skull and Bones Society?
I think something like that, where he tries to infiltrate one of those. And,
Alex, and he actually gets in though. The cornucopia or something like that.
Okay,
corneas. Yeah. I know the thing.
The story is told from two different perspectives. If you listen to Alex Jones's and John Ronson, completely different, right?
Really?
So John Ronson just walked through the front gate, and it was just like, we just walked through, and it was kind of weird. There was like lawyers, solicitors, judges, police, wealthy members of society. Seemed like just a load of guys getting together and blowing off fucking steam and making and networking.
Yeah.
And then Alex Jones, his others, like, they're following me in a truck. I've had to make a 12-hour diversion, and now I'm here. And then he was in there, like, we gotta get it out of here, John. They're gonna start sacrificing people. John was like, nothing like that happened. So that he's on a whole different plane of existence. And John Ronson's account of it is like, it was pretty tame and harmless evening.
Who seems like a more reliable source?
Well, I think John Ronson would be what I would take as a slightly more reliable source. But like, he does preface it with like when he was on Alex Jones's radio show. This was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the cable company kept shutting off Alex Jones's access. This is before he was extremely controversial.
Yeah.
Like they would cut off his access, so he'd have to like. He was doing it online, and the company were sent to like shut off his internet connection and stuff like that. So this stuff has been happening
That's
to him.
the worst thing you can do to somebody nowadays. Shut their internet connection.
Yeah,
off.
that's it. You're fucked.
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Christ.
Anyway, I don't know how we got here.
I don't know. We were talking about manipulation and Disney and just weird fucking
just fun
power
stuff.
Have you seen The Social Dilemma? You watched that?
No, not yet.
Super good. After I got Social Dilemma, I turned off all my notifications on my phone. Now it's in black and white. And that talks a lot about, kind of ties into where we're talking about, like Alex Jones getting kicked off of YouTube, and how just you watch the documentary. I'm not even gonna explain what they talk about.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, polarization of people. Fuck, I watched the Pence Kamala Harris debate today.
Oh,
vice presidents.
Yeah,
much better than the presidential one. Did you see the presidential one?
No.
You've heard about it though, right?
I've heard snippets of it.
I was just batshit fucking crazy.
Yeah.
There's the vice president one. There's a fly that lands on Pence's head. It's quite funny. I saw this meme there saying, in literature, a fly signifies decay and death. In this debate, it's the same. It's just like a fly just sitting on Pence's head, just sitting there. I felt bad for him, to be honest. That's probably gonna lose him the election. The fly. Shit. Apparently, Pence straight up talks to angels though.
Yeah, is he one of those like super fundamental Christian dudes? Those people like are scary.
How crazy is it that you need to be a outspoken religious person in the States to even
entertain the thought
of running.
it's like in God we trust.
Like, do you actually think Trump's religious?
I-
Come on,
but
dude.
isn't it weird that like we now like I grew up and no one
I don't know anybody
I know
who's
two people
religious.
that are religious.
I know none.
I know two, and I was like, oh, okay. And
It's weird, right? When
it's strange because I think we grew up, and everyone of our age group, no one ever believed in God or religion or anything like that. And it's strange when you look at the States where I would think the majority of people wouldn't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a huge amount of the voting public would be like, oh, we don't like believe in God and church and an afterlife and God looking after us.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this important to a presidential debate? Is it secular? Is religion separate from the state
So it's supposed to be,
Okay.
yeah. So in the States, I lived in the States from 2014. So I was born in the States. You can probably tell from my accent. I lived there in 95 through to 2003. Moved to New Zealand. Well, moved to Spain. Then went from Spain to New Zealand. South America, and then I went back to the States for like a year. And I lived in the States for a year when I was 18 to 19 years old. And when I was there, I remember I had a really good friend. Shout out to Will. Doesn't talk to me anymore. That's chill though. That's really
Just
chill. Yeah. He'll hear this, right, Shannon? He'll hear this.
I'll send it to him directly.
Yeah, this will
I
get
know
out
Will.
there.
Cool
Nah,
dude.
he'll just hear it through the airways, man. Don't even need to send it to him directly. But anyway, we were talking. He was, far right. This is when you could still kind of be friends with somebody who was on the opposite side of the political spectrum. Obama was still president and stuff like that. And he's not far right, but he was right leaning, know. And his parents were religious. And I was talking to him about what are your views on religion? Because this guy seemed very down to earth. And I was like, you don't actually believe there's a guy up in the sky and stuff like that. And he goes, no, not really. He says, but I'm a spiritual person. And I believe in the morals that the church preaches. And that's where I think a lot of the debates about whether or not you're Christian or not comes into the place of the presidential election. Because a lot of people, whether or not they believe in there being a God, they believe that the morals and the rules that the church holds true are still relevant. And there's this real belief that how can you be a moral person without the moral teachings of the church and Jesus?
Yeah, but
that's what people think, though.
yeah,
that's what they've been taught.
I think you've probably summed it up quite well. That where do we? Because originally we all got our morality from the teachings of the church.
Of Christ.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, of
Yeah.
Christ.
Of Christ.
Of Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
But we've kind of moved past that, where the church has been exposed from for being the opposite of that.
Sure.
And we don't need to go into it, but like we've known that the priests have been moved around to fucking different churches for fucking
Sure.
pedophiles. In Ireland, we had the laundries, which was where you'd all they just kill all the babies. All the babies, just mass baby graves.
Right.
You're like, so this high morality, this is where we're supposed to get our morality from. We all know that that's not necessarily true, and there's been huge instances of within the church they're doing exactly the opposite to what they preach. The fact that the institution still is held in regard. There's good churches, right? There's good people in the church. I'm not saying that, but it is. I do find it still kind of archaic that in a presidential debate or any kind of government where religion is paramount to the candidate. I find it very strange.
I would argue that it's not religion. I think it is religion that's important, but I think underlying that, it's for them. I think it's not necessary, and I can't speak for them because I don't know. I haven't lived there in a while. I think it's less about religion and it's more about the moralities of the religion itself.
It's the easiest
not
way.
The church.
It's the easiest way to control your message of what you want, how you want to.
Yes, I am religious, therefore
I'm going to do this. So
this.
it's a nice and tidy way
Sure.
to have that pure message of this is what we're going for.
Yeah.
It's like we believe in the military.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, oh well, we'll help people by bombing them.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it's like we protect our people and we'll help other people. Religion is like we make sure people grow up to be good and then what's the other ones? There's church, there's military. What's the other institutions? Educate. You know, you kind of pin your campaigns on the institutions that everyone already recognizes, and to default from that is sending a strange because you're broadcasting to millions of people, so you need your messaging to be as simple as possible.
And I think as well there are real merits towards some of the teachings that the church proposes.
Yeah, it's
And it served its purpose for I did a history degree, but I think religion back in the day for mass organization of people served a pretty good purpose because we need to have some sort of control, like human beings. There needs to be some kind of overarching controlling force, whether that be
a rule book.
Yeah, there needs to be a rule book. And it's easy to understand. 10 Commandments, yeah, easy for people to understand. What's really crazy to think, though, right, is back in the day, literacy was like a real barrier to entry for people to understand what a lot of this stuff meant. So the priests used to be the only ones who could actually interpret the literature, the Latin. So you were getting it filtered. We have multiple filters, right? First filter is the priest taking the information from the book and then spitting it back out to you. Then the next filter is where he's getting literature from, which is coming from the church. And the next filter is what the church and the stuff want you to hear. There's layers and layers and layers of it. That's why the whole there was like that weird split. Because back in the day, the priests used to be like fucking rock stars. They were just banging people.
I've seen it firsthand.
Well, like priests banging people and stuff?
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I worked for the museum for my county, right?
Yeah.
So that's my state. So I worked for there, and then we go to these marketing events where we tell people show people about the museum for the heritage and trying to get tourists to come to our town.
Sure.
And I went to the Eucharistic Congress, right, which only happens every 4 years. It's like the World Cup of priests or something. So it's like this big congress where you have priests from all around the world come and give sermons in like a fucking stadium. Like it's fucking insane. And I worked there for 2 days, and I swear to God, like there's loads of like older people and tours there, and they were just walking around. Priests were walking around like rock stars, blessing people, and older people were stopping and saying, "Oh, will you bless me, please, Father?" And it's like, yeah, and they were selling fucking merch. Nice. They had their own merch, their own like Disco Jesus and T-shirts. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And they're all hanging around. It's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be put in this fucking tropical island for fucking 6 months. It's pretty sweet." And they're all there with their iPhones and iPads.
So
and like they're like,
were they American or were they English?
No, they're from all around the world. So like
really?
from priests from everywhere. You had like Europeans, Americans, fucking everywhere. It's fucking insane. And they were genuinely walking around like rock stars.
So wild.
It was so strange.
You seen that mega church pastor in the States who tries explaining why he's allowed to fly on he needs to fly on a private jet? Have you seen that?
Is that guy?
He's nuts too. You look at the interviews that he has with him and you're like, this guy's freaking insane. He's insane. Yeah, just out of this world. Whack. Blows my mind, dude.
I think it all comes down to the thing is like if you can you can take advantage of the message and make huge amounts of profit for
totally
yourself.
Yeah, you just get donations, man. And what's really crazy is in the States you can build a church, have no association with religion, and make good money because you're renting it out to a convent, is that right? Or a sect of a certain religion. I
don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. You're doing good though.
Yeah. How are we sitting on time?
We're sitting on just under an hour. We're like 60 seconds away from an hour. But we've got to do a gig soon.
Yes, we do. And I need to pee super
I need
bad.
to pee so bad. I got to stop drinking so much before a podcast. That's why I have to keep cutting them short. I need to
dude,
stop pissing a bottle. Okay, so this is going to be going out next week. So what have you got coming up? We've got lots of shit coming up.
We got to plug. So you and I are doing a show up in Whangerai on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. That's going to be good. Yep. Whangerai Fringe After Dark. That's going to be sick. Sold quite a few tickets already, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Then Mayfair. No, well, yes, Mayfair out in Lower Hutt or Upper Hutt, sorry, up on the 30th of October. And then 31st, you and I have a lineup. Switch them around. 31st of October. So much going on. 31st of October, you and I have our Line 'em Up. 30th of October, you and I have our Line 'em Up comedy show.
Yeah.
31st of October, we have the Mayfair show out in the Hut. Check that out, Mayfair Cafe. Apart from that, just regular open mics, spots here and there.
And, oh yeah, have we mentioned your podcast?
Yeah, listen, there's a really good podcast out there called Gavin Learns. Name will eventually be changed once I'm done memeing it. If you want to become a Gavin learner.
Oh God.
Yeah, where are my learners at? Look, if Jake Paul can do it, Jake Paulers, there's going to be Gavin learners. Yeah, I'm the next.
I want to be
Paul.
your hype man.
You can be my court jester.
I can just be that old dude who hates everyone in the corner.
Y'all getting in the jacuzzi again? You get out of there, you whip your ass. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Follow me on Instagram, Gavin.Hews.
And Facebook.
Gavin Hews.
Gavin Hews. All right, Gav.
And buy my merch.
You don't have merch.
I don't have merch.
Okay, thanks very much for coming on. We learned a lot today.
Yes.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah, man. You
pro
can learn more on Gavin Learns.
Fuck off.
Is it even recording anymore?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you bastard. You stopped
It's still recording. It's still recording. I just
I'm listening to this.
I just edited out all the plugs.
All my plugs are gone.
Well, this is what I'm going to dub over every time you mention the podcast.
With your podcast. There's this really cool podcast. Says, what am I doing? What am I doing here? I can't do your accent. I need to pee.
God.
I need to pee.
Yeah, we both need to piss.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.